Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good evening. I am Generally Saurjan and I will be presenting my paper review on the topic of robotics, process automation, also known as RPA, and implementation drivers, evidence of selected Nordic companies. So in this paper reviews content, I will be answering questions based on the questions here in the right side. So first question, who has have done the work? Second question, what were their goals, objectives? Third question, what were their research questions, if any? And the fourth question, what were their methods in terms of but not limited to? And there is a sub question here. How have they gathered the relevant data? How is the data gathering set up? What are the tools, techniques used in the data gathering? How do they form the data set? How do they clean the data? And how do they process the data? And for the number five question, what were their findings and what were the gaps in their studies or findings? And for the last question, what are your takeaways on this paper? So if we go to the first question, which is the who has have done the work, sorry for my pronunciation about their names. The first author is Damian Ketziora. He is currently working in the Hankins School of Economics. And the second one, Arja Libunan, Jivaskela University of Applied Sciences. And the third one is the Wuzik Pietrowicz. Uh, he is also currently working in the Hankins School of Economics. And for the last one is Ansi Orni, working in the Abu Academy. So for the number two question, what were their goals or objectives? The authors aimed at exploring the field based on reviewing academic sources and information reported by multiple commercial sources, as well as validating empirical data gathered from different RPA suppliers and executive business experts. So the goal of this exploratory research is to examine the key decision making factors related to the implementation of RPA at Nordic companies and the context of the organizational setup and culture. So for the number three questions, what were the research questions, if any? So the paper addresses four research questions. The first question, what was the role of IT department in RPA development? The second question, what decision criteria are used for the RPA development? And the third question, what are the risks related to the RPA implementation? And for the last question that they have used on this research, how independently do software robots and process automation work? So for the number four question, what were their methods in terms of but not limited to? And for the sub question, how have they gathered the relevant data and how is the data gathering set up? So the research data was mostly collected from interviews that took place between 2018 to 2019. Since there was a limited amount of academic material available on the RPA phenomenon, researchers uh, managed to field business experts who work on the subject and have insights on the subject research problem. So for the another sub question, how have they gathered the relevant data and what are the tools and techniques used in the data gatherings? So the research approach assumed in the paper is a combination of qualitative case study, basic qualitative study, and grounded theory. Sorry for this gamma. This is a qualitative case study. So another, how do they form the data set or how do they clean the data? The interviews were conducted as a semi-structured interviews, which means that the questions were flexibly formulated or the interview has been a mix of both strictly formulated questions and more freely structured questions. And how do they process the data? The interviewees were holding different roles in RPA teams, and from top managers to coders as well as human resource experts. So two interviews were conducted in person, face to face, and the remaining six were conducted uh, online via Skype for business. So on the continuation, the meetings were conducted in Finnish and then findings translated to English, and the interviews were booked for 1 hour, and their duration varied between 35 to 47 minutes. Total length of interviews was 317 minutes, an example 5 hours and 17 minutes. All interviews were transcribed. The content analysis was the complex process of the organizing information into several categories related to the central research questions. Document analysis included skimming, reading, and interpretation. This process combined elements of thematic analysis and content analysis, as the document analysis can be understood as the complementary collection procedure uh, supported by triangulation and theory building. And what were their findings? The findings highlight the focus on the operational benefits like releasing employees from the most monotonous, non-value adding assignments, strengthening enterprise efficiency, compliance, and quality. Notably, the strategic and external customer or impacts were not at the core of the RPA decision making process among the studied case companies. And also, the findings suggest that RPA is mainly perceived as an operational tool to automate and improve internal processes with little consideration of its strategic and external impact, including impact on customers and service quality. So, number six, what were the gaps in their studies or findings? So, there was no uniform rule of IT department in the RPA development. Some implementations were based on citizen developers, while in other organizations, IT department was involved in identification or processes for improvement, following the path used for other IT systems implementations. So thus, RPA was not different from other systems, and earlier experiences could be used to identify, improve, and automate processes. The implementation was in some cases outsourced the external companies or completed by internal teams. Moreover, in one case, a company of the IT employees who moved from the business side to the RPA, COE, and industry organizations such as practices have also been formerly reported in the literature. And for the last one, what are your takeaways on this paper? So my takeaways in this paper is establishing an RPA in the business is a great idea to increase productivity and improve services to the client. And it will increase satisfaction of the employee to work in a technological processes. So that is my takeaway. And that ends for my presentation about the RPA evidence, RPA or Robotics Process Automation or Implementation Drivers, evidence of selected Nordic companies. So thank you so much.